Willa James liked to tell people the city of Boston was her office, and her employees answered to names like Pudding, Jasper, Queenie, and Fenway. Every weekday morning she laced up battered bean boots, clipped a jangling ring of keys to her belt, and started her loop through Beacon Hill and the Back Bay, collecting four-legged clients as she went. It wasn't the most glamorous career her parents had envisioned after she graduated from Emerson College with a degree in marketing, but Willa preferred sunlight and cobblestones to PowerPoints and cubicles. Besides, the dogs never scheduled meetings that could have been emails. On a crisp Monday in late October, an east wind carried the smell of brine from the harbour and drifted dry leaves across Louisburg Square. Queenie, a venerable Westie who regarded herself as neighbourhood royalty, paused to sniff along the wrought-iron fence bordering a narrow flower-bed. Pudding, a mutt with a perpetually surprised expression, stuffed his nose into the same patch of soil. Then Jasper nudged Willa's shin and whined, eyes fixed on that exact spot, as though it emitted inaudible music. "Something good in there?" Willa asked, crouching. She expected to find a discarded sandwich wrapper or the remains of a squirrel's secret pantry. Instead, her fingers closed around a hard disc of metal the size of a quarter, its surface oxidized to a greenish bruise. On one side was a faint outline of a pine tree, on the other a simple five-pointed star. "Well, would you look at that?" she murmured, sliding the piece into her jacket pocket, before any pup decided it was edible. The dogs, satisfied, trotted on to the next fire hydrant. Willa made a mental note to check a coin guide that night, but the workday chased the thought from her mind until she emptied her pockets onto her kitchen table after supper. The coin, cleaned with a toothbrush and mild soap, gleamed a mellow gold. Around the pine tree, tiny letters read, "Bostonia Condita 1630, Boston founded 1630. That part didn't surprise her. Plenty of tourist shops sold reproductions. What stopped her breath was the date on the bottom edge, 1775. She flipped the coin and realized the star enclosed a Latin motto she'd missed earlier, Libertatem Conditur Cannabis. Willa's high school Latin was rusty, but she could puzzle out liberty and dogs. Liberty founded by dogs. That couldn't be right. Intrigued, she sent a photo to her friend Oliver Brogan, a doctoral candidate in Revolutionary-era history at Boston University. His reply arrived 3 minutes later. "Where did you get this? Are there more? Call me." Oliver explained that similar tokens, though exceedingly rare, had appeared in family heirloom collections and at estate sales over the past century. Numismatists called them Liberty Dog medallions, though no one knew their original purpose. Most bore signs of having been struck in small batches by local artisans rather than the official colonial mint. Some scholars believed a secret society of patriots used the coins to pay messengers or smugglers beyond the reach of British inspection. The Latin motto was generally interpreted as liberty established by dogs, a cheeky nod to those anonymous couriers. Willa listened, goosebumps pricking her arms. "I didn't find it," she said. "The dogs did, and they were obsessed with the spot." Oliver sucked in a breath. "If there's one, there's likely a cache. Where exactly?" She hesitated. A cosy mystery, she thought, required at least a hint of discretion. "I'll show you tomorrow after my first walk." The next morning brought a chill capable of numbing fingertips through gloves. Willa rounded up Queenie, Jasper, Pudding, and Fenway, whose shaggy golden coat blended with the turning leaves. When they reached Louisburg Square, all four dogs yanked simultaneously toward the same flower bed. Oliver, bundled in a Red Sox scarf, watched with raised eyebrows. "They have good noses," he remarked. Willa knelt and brushed soil aside. A root-gnarled depression suggested previous digging, by squirrels, dogs, or clandestine patriots, who could say? She gingerly prodded deeper until her fingers struck wood. She froze. The dogs circled like living exclamation points. Oliver dropped beside her. Together they excavated a small cedar box, rot having nibbled away the corners. Willa pried the lid with a house key. Inside lay 3 additional coins, cushioned by fragments of oilcloth. A faded scrap of parchment clung to the underside of the lid. Oliver inhaled sharply. That handwriting looks 18th century. The parchment, half eaten by time, bore a simple cipher, rows of seemingly random letters over tiny ink drawings of dogs. Oliver snapped photos while the dogs whined at the smell of aged cloth. "I'll decode this," he promised, "but we should take the coins somewhere safe." Willa agreed, though she felt a strange protective tug. The dogs had discovered the treasure. In a way, it belonged to them, or at least to the spirit of their profession. She placed the coins and parchment in a Ziploc bag, wiped her gloves clean, and resumed the walk, heart thrumming faster than the leashes jostling at her hip. Word travels at the speed of rumour in Beacon Hill, where Greek revival stoops and bow-front townhouses host a gilded grapevine. By Wednesday, an antique dealer named Marvin Blackstone had appeared near Louisburg Square, loitering by the wrought-iron fence while pretending to photograph foliage. Willa noticed him because Pudding, usually enthusiastic towards strangers, flattened his ears and inched behind her legs. Blackstone, a dapper man with silver temples and a smile like a poorly repaired fracture, tipped his hat. "Lovely terriers," he said, though only Queenie fit that description. "I'm on the hunt for a particular colonial artifact rumoured to be buried around here. Perhaps your canine companions can assist." "Sorry," Willa answered, tightening her grip on the leashes. "We're strictly in the business of tennis balls and squirrels." Later that day, she phoned Oliver. "We need to move whatever's left before Blackstone beats us to it." Oliver had spent 2 nights cracking the cipher. "I've got good news," he said. "The parchment references 2 stockpiles. The first, under the pine of the Iron Garden, must be Louisburg Square. The second is cryptically described as where lanterns made freedom too." He paused for effect. "Sounds like the old North Church." Willa pictured Paul Revere's midnight ride, 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. The famous steeple rose in the north end, 1.5 miles away as the crow or dog trots. They decided on a nighttime reconnaissance. Willa borrowed Fenway for an overnight socialization session and met Oliver at the corner of Hull Street after dark. The churchyard gate squealed, but no alarm sounded. Fenway's tail swished like a metronome as he sniffed among slate tombstones engraved with winged skulls. Oliver consulted a printout of the cipher. The verse talks about stone angels mourning eastward. That row faces the harbour. He clicked a flashlight beam over a trio of statues carved into a chest-high memorial. Fenway circled the base, then pressed his snout to a loose granite block. He barked once decisively. Willa dug her fingertips into the seam and tugged. The block shifted, revealing a linen satchel. Inside clinked the unmistakable weight of coins, far more than 4. She counted quickly. 23 medallions in various states of tarnish, nestled beside a slim notebook bound in red leather. They retreated to an all-night diner on Hanover Street. Over steaming chowder, Oliver translated the notebook's opening lines. "Record of the Children of Liberty, meeting of 19th April 1775. Funds concealed against loyalist discovery. Messengers of 4 Paws shall keep watch when all Patriots lie cold. He looked up, eyes shining. They considered dogs honorary members. Willa felt a lump in her throat. Then Queenie, Jasper, Pudding, and Fenway carried on an old tradition without even knowing. As dawn pinked the sky, they stashed the satchel in Oliver's campus office safe. Willa headed home for a nap, but sleep eluded her. Blackstone's hungry gaze gnawed at her mind. Was he working alone? How had he heard so quickly? By noon, she'd formulated a plan to secure the coins for a reputable museum before any shadowy collectors pounced. The next afternoon, she and Oliver met with Curator Ellis at the Bostonian Society. The middle-aged historian listened, wide-eyed, as Oliver recounted their find. When they produced the coins, Ellis handled them as though they were robin eggs, reverent and trembling. "We'll catalogue and conserve them immediately," he promised. "You've stumbled on a treasure of social history as much as numismatics, a secret society that trusted dogs. Remarkable." Ellis insisted on filing the proper paperwork, including temporary transfer of custody from Willa to the museum pending authentication. They walked out feeling lighter, but also a bit exposed. If Blackstone was monitoring them, he might already know. That evening, Willa's phone buzzed while she brushed Queenie's wiry coat. Unknown caller. She let it ring to voicemail. A minute later, a text arrived. "Nice work, Miss James. Care to share the rest of the hoard, or shall we negotiate?" She showed Oliver, whose jaw clenched. "He's fishing. He doesn't know we turned them over." "Let's keep it that way," Willa said, but her stomach tightened into a sailor's knot. Friday morning dawned soggy with rain. Willa gathered her usual crew, plus an energetic beagle named Rocket. She tried to relax into routine, yet her eyes flicked around every corner. At the public garden footbridge, Rocket bolted, nose to the planks, dragging her toward a grey sedan idling by the curb. The window slid down to reveal Blackstone. "Good dogs always find treasure," he called, voice syrupy. "Shame their handler undervalues opportunity." "That's harassment," Willa snapped, hauling Rocket back. A passerby in a neon running jacket glared at Blackstone, muttering something about creeps, prompting him to drive off. Willa phoned Detective Serena Costa, an acquaintance whose Labrador she sometimes walked when Costa's workload spiked. Costa agreed to swing by the museum that afternoon to evaluate security. "Collectors like Blackstone don't hesitate to employ burglars," she warned. "Museums can look like cookie jars to them." Sure enough, at 3 a.m. Saturday, an alarm trilled through the Bostonian Society. Costa, already on alert, raced to the scene and intercepted a masked intruder fleeing through a basement exit. The man resisted arrest for exactly 2 seconds before Costa's K9 partner, her own Labrador Ranger, pinned him. The mask came off to reveal Marvin Blackstone, face sheet white in the revolving red-blue of patrol cars. The next day's headlines splashed the story across front pages. Secret coins, secret society, dogs save the day. Reporters latched on to the canine angle, dubbing Willa the hound detective. She'd have preferred something with fewer syllables, but the dogs rewarded her newfound celebrity with sloppy kisses and wagging approval. A week later, Curator Ellis hosted a private preview of the exhibit Paws for Liberty, Dogs and Dissent in Revolutionary Boston. Queenie, Jasper, Pudding, and Fenway attended, each sporting a tasteful tricorn-shaped tag engraved with the Society's Latin motto. A velvet-lined case displayed all 27 coins beneath gentle light. The cedar box, parchment cipher, and red leather ledger occupied adjoining pedestals. A looping slideshow detailed how 18th-century Patriots reputedly trained dogs to ferry messages and small parcels between taverns and farms, slipping past British sentries who seldom searched animals. Oliver leaned over a vitrine, eyes misty. "We filled in a gap historians didn't even know existed," he whispered. Willa nodded, though her gaze lingered on a final plaque. Coins donated by Willa James and Oliver Brogan, discovered with the assistance of Queenie, Jasper, Pudding, and Fenway. She felt warmth bloom in her chest, equal parts pride and gratitude to the snuffling crew that had guided her. Curator Ellis tapped a glass to claim attention. "In recognition of extraordinary civic contribution," he announced, "the Bostonian Society is delighted to offer Miss James and Mr. Brogan lifetime memberships." Applause rippled across the room, mingled with sporadic barks. After the reception, Willa and Oliver strolled toward Charles Street under a canopy of gas lamps. The dogs, leashes tangled in convivial knots, pranced despite the late hour. "I used to wonder if walking dogs was a detour from my real career," Willa said, adjusting Queenie's miniature cloak. "Turns out it was the scenic route," Oliver chuckled. "Funny thing about scenic routes, you see details others miss. Like 4 dogs sniffing history." They paused by the Louisburg Square fence where it all began. A groundskeeper had replanted the disturbed earth, but Queenie still bent her head, sniffed once, then moved on, tail high. The message was clear. Mystery solved, onward to the next. Willa inhaled the autumn night, oak leaves, distant salt air, a teasing whiff of chimney smoke. Boston's hushed streets no longer felt merely picturesque. They thrummed with secret layers she'd helped peel back. She squeezed each leash handle, anchored by faithful companions whose instincts had bridged centuries. "Ready for tomorrow's circuit?" she asked. Jasper barked affirmatively, Rocket bayed in echo, and Fenway attempted to lick Oliver's nose. Somewhere nearby, a church bell marked 11 o'clock. As they turned toward home, Willa imagined invisible Paws trotting alongside, loyal mutts of 1775 guiding their modern counterparts. The road ahead brimmed with the promise of ordinary walks made extraordinary by the possibility that any doorstep, any hedge, might conceal fragments of untold stories waiting for a good nose and a persistent heart. And if the past ever whispered again from beneath Boston's bricks, Willa James and her happy brigade would be listening.